revolutionizing Washington, American precipice. You know, things are very divided right now, which is the prime reason why I'm running as an independent. My policies and voting record have always gone to the left. We'll get into why there's pros and cons to both aisles. I mean, just as with anything. So here we go. Overview, I'll let you know my strategy. The political ideology reformation. I mean, America is it's about ideas and then pushing those ideas through, not getting bought out on those ideas. Some of the challenges and solutions. Opponents, I'm not going to spend too much time about that. I don't want to make this too much of that. There is competition in the world. So, and then conclusion, this won't take long. Hopefully everyone that is attending here has visited my website and read through that. You know, I had spent time writing that so people can actually read that. It's the thing about politics that I've noticed, that a lot of politicians kind of behave like crooked mechanics. You know what I mean? You trust them with your vote. However, they get into the swing of things of party and PAC money and what have you, and they just swing with that ideology, and then nothing gets done. And I'll explain that. So, and again, so anyhow. My strategy is to serve just one term of the upcoming 119th Congress, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time asking for money as soon as I get in it. This will start to click later on. Also had initially ran for president, and I'm actually on the Nevada ballot. That's something different. So, but just to see how much I can accomplish in just one term, and get in through this way, and really spend all of my time devoted to not just the needs of this district, which will be fun, pretty simple with little things, and we're doing pretty well here in our district, but it's not like that everywhere else. So plant these seeds, hopefully, and see what kind of influence and momentum that I can carry on to change ideology. We all voted for Obama, or he wasn't speaking to just one party with that. So, and there's only so much one president can do. There's only so much one person can do. So, recruit, replacement, help manage the American Anti-Corruption Act. We'll go into that later. You know, I have not to call them out too much, but Victoria Beersing had ran against Don Beyer, the incumbent. So she didn't win the primary. But one thing that I noticed in her platform was that she wanted to get money out of politics. So I have seen a better option. I haven't talked to her directly, but that would be something I would give her the option. I imagine going out there, you know, getting 1,000 signatures. I haven't seen anything that she's running again, but that's a lot to have to endure and find out that they just gave it to the incumbent. So again, if not, if she weren't to accept, if I were to get elected, if she weren't to accept that, then I would go ahead and find someone else to help with that. Work with members of Congress to achieve agenda and that which is principle of a general welfare fiscal responsibility balance. And that's key. General welfare is essentially the Democratic Party. Fiscal responsibility is the Republican Party. You want to say this and that. I'll simplify it for you and why that is in the coming slides. Donations. Any donations that I obtain are primarily used for maintaining electronic marketing to stay competitive. Town hall space is relatively cheap, and I maintain regular employment at an intellectual property law firm in Alexandria. I won't submit to PAC money or special interest or stock trading among the office. So donations, I delivered 250 flyers in this neighborhood last week. Not a single person showed up. I boosted this post just with my own funds. You know, this is something that's apparent. If you look at the current, I'm going up against here Don Beyer with his net worth is actually 124 million, but he's got this much money on hand just to put out a direct flyer. A direct mail flyer is quite a bit. And going within the party system and everything like that, it's just people know that. I'm here at the Lubber Community Center, and I chose this community center because my first childhood home was just 2 blocks away. You know, my son had taken summer school here one year in the older place, so this is home. This is home for me. So to be able to really sell genuinely the people here of my genuine, independent ideology, the resolves that I made. You see my website again. And that's just the key points. There's so much more that we develop. And I don't think we should be held crystallized to our ideas. You know what I mean? We should discuss why they would work and why they won't work. You know, just like any other office, any other professional setting. We don't see that in politics. This is who they are, they're not subject to change, and they're infallible? No. Everyone's fallible. So, anyways, this should actually be more, I need to update this, you know, my own personal money as it weighs right now is at $4,000. I don't have to report unless I reach $5,000, I'll do it anyways. So I'm using my own money to start. This is just January 2nd. Political ideology reformation. General welfare. The general welfare paradigm of the Democratic Party can be traced back to FDR with the New Deal, and you know, we're building together. You know, slavery's over, and we're building cities. So we establish things like Social Security and what have you. So, and then how that gets carried on to each subsequent generation, it can become what is known as a progress track. So, also JFK, another prominent leader of just that general welfare paradigm. Now, Republican Party, they have been a bit lost recently, but mostly fiscal responsibility. That can be traced back to Nixon taking us off the gold standard, right? That was having us on the gold standard was, I believe, something that FDR had established, but after World War II, it wasn't competitive, it wasn't fair. So that's why it wasn't progressive, for lack of a better word. And that's another thing about these key terms in politics and how a party may or may not own them or not, and you can't use it because it's not artistic or professional. I don't understand that. So anyways, but the key point here with where we are at now divided, as far as ideologue goes, not the money, as far as ideologue goes. JFK was a very beloved president, even if he wasn't assassinated. I mean, that has an impact on how we remember ourselves and things like that. But he was the first Catholic president, right? And everyone was really scared about that he would impose his policies into government, and that was new in our country. He was able to sell genuinely again that that the Pope doesn't answer to him, and he doesn't answer to the Pope, right? No matter what he does in his personal life or whatever it is like that, Amendment 1 is very obvious, but he was able to do that. And then if you look at these televised debates, which was the first one between Nixon and, Kennedy, he's up there, Nixon's looking at him, I mean, he's next to Kennedy, he's looking at him a little jealous, right? So through each subsequent generation, it has been the platform of the Republican Party to slowly start imposing more and more religious ideas to, again, where if that's women's rights, climate change, COVID, a lot of different things, you know, and they're all divided amongst themselves, and there's nothing else left to do but reform. And if we take the general welfare too far, we could very well end up socialists. That's where we're at right now. Look at the president now. There's just his positions of the general welfare are becoming unfair, and it'll never fully get to socialism because of the objective right, and there's certain things about the right because of the objective left. That's what we do. That's more perfect. That's pretty cool to look at. Now I know it's frustrating because a lot of things are being impacted by that. If you're a woman with your rights or climate, that's a scary thing, and et cetera, et cetera. So we don't want to go to socialist. We don't want to go What FDR did was enough, I think, with Social Security, Medicare, and then anything else that we could benefit the general welfare with that fiscal responsibility. Now, on the right, we don't want to take that too far, right? Because then what do you have? You have deregulating capitalism. You have, good God, I mean, if you look at, you can look at some of the terrorists where they have their flag behind them and they have assault weapons and they're supporting their religion and what they believe is government, right? And then you can also, look here in the U.S. and it's like some people have become what they judge if that's the case. Because then you have an American flag with their religious ideas with an arm. It's like, whoa. So you don't want to take it off too far right, but also the far left too. I believe, this is my hypothesis in political science, and I'm not the only one, that 80% of the people genuinely have a reasonable compromise about them. They have, there's not going to be another civil war, you know what I mean? And that goes again here where we're at today, politically, where there's, let's take the case study of slavery, Amendment 13. It took 50 years of congressional debate and civil war before Amendment 13 was passed. So that's where we're at today. But now back then it was the Southern Democrats that were holding on to that. And then the President Lincoln, of course, was able to persuade and use, the office and bring everyone together to get that majority, to what the people believed was constitutional. So we're more perfect. We had another civil war. We're not going to have one. I don't think we are. We might have pockets, and I don't support any kind of violence at all. I don't care what it is. You know what I mean? If I'm a competitive guy, you know what I mean? I like full contact sports, like football. I like, you know what I mean? But I don't want to get physically violent with it. You know what I mean? I want to avoid that at all costs. I don't want to. I try my best to drive defensively and want to run anybody over. You know what I mean? And I just do that every day. And I think again, 80% of us, I think, do that. I mean, right? I mean, everyone's capable of anything, right? So, but on the opposing sides, the extreme, 10% on each side, 20%. That could be anybody. Just the natural cycles of things, where you could have been on a far left or right at some point in your life. You could have been 15, you could have been 50. You may stay there, you may not. Something like that. And what it seems is, because there's so much emotion wrapped around these polar opposites, that seems where the party listens to and tries to sell that stuff, or eventually. But it kind of cycles in like that. If you kind of look, at least with American politics, where that's completely different in another country. If you look at what's blue over there is the opposite. It's just evolved differently in their spectrum. So that's what I believe that we can do. If we can just keep it just that simple. With the Green Party, I would like to see the Green Party. I was actually a member of the Green Party. I still am. Still a member of the Green Party. I initially I was thinking about running, but I've lived in this area my whole life, and growing up around the monuments and the history and the culture and like that, it starts to evolve. And I attended a couple of webinars in the Green Party, and you'd be surprised how much you could do with 5 people. Maybe that if I got some donations, I could get 5 people to help me push this thing through, so I'm not sitting here alone with maybe 2 or 3. Well, at least the community center gets some free donuts. Well, you get coffee. No big deal. Just starting out. So anyways, Green Party, I would like to see them become the party of technology, of the reasonable voice. Now, I went very quickly through the Green Party. You got so close to Jill Stein, Dr. Jill Stein's. She was a presidential candidate. I got to her staff. And I was advocating for advanced nuclear energy. It's just crickets is what I got. And that's a whole other thing. I'm all about energy diversity. You can look on my LinkedIn and see where I come from in the private sector, the patents that I have, the research I've done. Even in Virginia, we have 41% of our energy comes from nuclear energy. So I can talk about that all day. But I would want them to have a reasonable voice in that. Why advanced nuclear technology would be better, as an addition to just solar panels or wind farms or whatever it is. There's not going to be one magic replacement for fossil fuel. It's a collection of things. The transition, that's a whole other discussion here. I'm just trying to keep this presentation as simple as possible, but if I'm invited to speak about it somewhere else, I can totally do it. with climate change specific. So I don't see much constitutionality in the Libertarian Party. I got a membership card. Their headquarters is 2 blocks away from where I worked. I met them. I read their statements and principles, and it seemed like it was an ideologue from the person who founded the nation of law. I didn't see anything. I mean, prostitution, maybe just keep that in Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anyone really wants to have that, anywhere. You know what I mean? Again, unless you could try. I mean, there's a lot of things that come with prostitution or not. You know what I mean? Are you be able to convince the neighborhood to make that legal? What would that do to the socioeconomics? What would that do to our system? Would that involve eventually more taxes to pay for any health care that may come from that? Maybe drugs and alcohol were involved with that. Maybe just keep it in Vegas. You know, is it worth the risk? I don't know. But that's just one thing of the Libertarian Party that I saw to speak of. There's a bunch of different things. I just don't see a lot of constitutionality. The way they read their statement of principles, you see what I mean. And the Forward Party. Forward Party's new. Andrew Yang was a political candidate in the 2020 race. He had the math lapel, and that's great. Not everything's math, okay? But one thing I do like about them is the advocacy for regulating AI, making sure that we don't lose any jobs. So I've adopted that in my platform. That's my fundamental thing about AI, is to make sure that it doesn't replace any jobs or any wages. The fundamental principles are not that complicated. Rolling out the minutia, that just takes time and hashing out between people, just like any other organization. I have temped a lot. Been working in the same field for 15 years. Large firm, small firm. I know how organizations operate. I see their meetings. I'm in meetings. I'm asked to lead meetings, focus groups, whatever it is. We find a common ground, and then we have there's no. Very seldom do people get fired unless they just can't get with it. You know what I mean? In politics, as far as systems and what we're there to do and everything, it's not that much different. So, another thing about the Forward Party that I like is their ranked choice voting. Again, that's something, that we just started here in Arlington, actually. The community board was subject to ranked choice voting. So that was neat. And that's the thing about it. You know what I mean? If you look at the 2020 presidential election, and the Democratic Party just kind of got together, just gave us a nominee, right? And if we had a ranked choice, at least at the end of the day, we could say we had a direct involvement if it were to come out to be Biden. I supported Thomas Fairfirst, and I went with the party. Actually, I'm still running for president, I guess. And one state ballot. They just blindly give the nomination to the incumbent. So if you put me in Congress, I'm going to hold this guy accountable. You know what I mean? I know on social media I have a particular psyche. Okay, on social media, make it fun. You know what I mean? It's social media. It's a two-dimensional environment. You know what I mean? Like the things we see on television are not necessarily the same things we want to see in real life. If it's a video game of war, or if it's again anything, the way we communicate and talk. I don't talk the way that I do in public. The way that I do on social media. I have so many references, and even then we do use strong language from time to time, but we don't. Let's think about social media. It's a two-dimensional environment. It's very sterilized, and it can get very dehumanizing, but it can also be really fun too. It's silly. I try to make it silly, but but definitely some people might take it too seriously. Just like with anything, it's just you get frustrated because it's not a 3D environment. You can't get your hands in it. So, anyways. This isn't so much a discussion about human interface and interactions and human psychology, but I get that, I understand that. And me mostly started my presence with social media in campaign world, in political world. Well, now I'm here alone. Anyways, so another thing about the Forward Party is that they're balancing They did endorsements from both parties back in the 2022 cycle. They did well. I think it might have been something like 75%, maybe something like that. So, that was neat. And some of the other things. Again, I just hope, and it kind of looks like that. And I don't want to instantly judge them from some of the things that I've seen. And crystallize them, subject to infinite crystallization, right? But it seems like they're kind of succumbing to the same things at parties. Just maybe they're realizing that that's what happens. And even if you got rid of parties, you're still going to get a bunch of people together, grouped together for whatever reason, and you're going to have them have ideas, and someone's going to lead that idea or not. So that's basically where we're at. Where it's been 50 years of debate with women's rights and abortion. It's been 50 years of debate pretty much with climate change. Whatever it is, now is the time that looks like for what people think is constitutional. The people that are holding those ideas also are bringing some socialist ideas, and that's what I'm there to balance out. Okay, if you really take the time. I had a very heated back and forth with someone named Lucy Von Sneed and Lucy Smith about women's rights, and there's no ban in there. There's no loophole. That language is written, it's very simple as a federal minimum guideline. You know what I mean? And that's what that is. That there's no bans in it. And the fact that it's just getting hammered by this person, and it's just not going to fly, because that's not my intent, that's not what I wrote. She called me conservative, which isn't really offensive, it's just not where I sit. You know what I mean? Do I believe in fiscal responsibility in my personal life? Sure. Do I give to charity? Yeah. Anyways. But so that's what I'm talking about. Like, where do we meet that line? Where do we get enough states to get the codification? Where's the line? And that is all about reforming the ideology of the right. They're the opposition that's not allowing that because they have the religious beliefs in it. They think it's murder. I have outlined that. Then we have to define life then, legally. And I've outlined that. If you got another idea, I'm all about it. Let's hear it. What do you got? Otherwise, we're just going to keep staying in the stalemate, and people are going to suffer, and because of the climate. Let's move on to, this is one of my favorite articles from Axios, where at least 1,000 U.S. adults between, 20 years, are independent. How about that? They say that, you might say that on a poll, but come voting day, what choice do you have? How much time do you want to take out of your day? Even if you knew that just a kid from the neighborhood that's trying to help out, actually show up to the town. How many just by looking at this, how many people right there, the 250 flyers here's the source, of course, right there. Always do that. They come from intellectual property. We cite articles. They have to be credible. They have to be. It's all there. It's one thing. Polls don't mean much, but that says a lot. We're thinking like that, but they're not giving us much choice. Now that's okay if you didn't come to my town hall. Maybe next time. I'm not giving up. I'm having a good time up here. All right. So this is interesting. Axios is political. The challenges and solution to this are the political disillusionment. We get stuck in these structures of politics. It's easy for us to change. We want to get a haircut, maybe. You know what I mean? But your entire belief system, if that really is the case, because we're talking about law. Okay? We're trying to have a living government. We're not trying to go open your business. You know what I mean? So. Media literacy, there's a lot of disillusionment, and that is something the right is doing, and the left. Maybe so much more on the right. Show me the numbers, who's doing more. Does it matter? You're pushing an idea, it's not true, and you're just trying to get them out of the way, or the idea out of the way, and it's not true. So media literacy will create a cognitive framework where you're going to be able to independently make that information yourself. And if it's looking at Bidenomics, right? Like, why is it not working, right? Look at Wall Street Journal. Look at an objective side. You know what I mean? And then you'll see, like, wow, Joe, like, why are you just up there tap dancing for us? You know what I mean? Why do you do that? Is that just what you're used to? I mean, it's time for new generational president, right? I mean, come on, is it? Seriously, be honest with us. You know what I mean? We'll probably vote for you again, right? Just because, yeah, I mean, there's no other option next to myself, but, and somebody's got to push new ideas that are going to work through, and hopefully I can do that. You're not going to see, maybe that scares you. If I'm independent, then I might go and, look, it's principle of fiscal responsibility. I don't want to take a socialist, and I don't want to deregulate. I want to find that balance. And if you look at my website, there's that digital democracy project where any legislation that I support or you don't want me to support, think of we put Don Meyer up there, and he's going to go, he imposed a 1,000% excise tax, and that was, you didn't ask us. So, like, I would say, no, what other ideas do you have? Because I get it, Ben Prime's problem. But, so any legislation that I would put through, and whatever, if I would ever go against the majority, I would explain why. And I'm only there one term. One term. That's it. Special interest lobbying, to cut this pretty quick here. I love to talk. I'm a big talker. I wouldn't want to get into this job if I don't like to talk. Anybody that knows me knows how much I love to talk. Probably my neighbors too. Right? Anyways, so The Great Hack, this is Netflix. This is really cool. This will break it down for you and get to the present where we're at. And then for me, when I first saw this, everything that really, I started to see where we're at presently. It opened up all these other doors. Kind of like getting into computers for the first time. You know what I mean? Like you pick up on what little, it takes a little bit of time. So then media literacy. This is the media bias charts. If you check out the methodology of the media bias charts, the founder had created this thing, Vanessa Otero, with journalists, laymen, all different types of credible individuals that weigh it out. It's not AI, and there's an objective, and it weighs out. No, I've never seen a chart this thorough where you can do that. My favorite three are the Washington Post. Hey, that's my bias right there. My bias is the Washington Post because I live in Washington, D.C. And look where it happens to, I like to think, I know this, George Washington was a very charitable guy. He was. He believed in that stuff. Look at where our district is. It's been blue since Kennedy. You know what I mean? I work right next to the Masonic monument over there. You know what I mean? It's just, there's a general welfare vibe. But very silent man, if you get into his psyche, you know what I mean? In the imagination of, there's a lot of things he didn't comment on. Very imprudent, very judged, very independently. What a job for to be the first president. The Hill is one of the most nonpartisan, bipartisan. They'll say that they're nonpartisan, but they kind of rate. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best. Neither does Washington Post. Wall Street Journal, excuse right. And look what I'm seeing here: general welfare in between fiscal responsibility. You don't see them using heavy personality contests or interviews. You just see them being objective. Yeah, there's personality there, but it's the media bias. So these are my favorite three. I read other stuff, sure, but look at who's down here. Look at this guy. Was that Alex Jones? No, that's not Alex Jones. Is that Trump? Trump's kid? Look at that. Even here on the left. Look at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, what are you doing, buddy? It used to be funny. You still kind of are, but I don't want to eat animal parts, buddy. I don't know why. Why don't you stop eating so many mushrooms or something? I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, here you go. Here's these are my three. That doesn't mean they're the best. And maybe there's something else out there that didn't make this chart that does that already. They're just not naming it. I don't know. The cool thing about the media bias chart is that it's designed. It's not subject to being crystallized. This screenshot is good. Anybody can move up. Where's Tucker Carlson? He was down here. Ben. I have a bias to the left, and when I see people getting it wrong, I take issue with that. But then again, I'm also going to check my own. What about me? What about my side? What are we doing? Let me listen to what you're saying, and then I see it. I'm just thinking independently. Okay, and then of course, probably one of the this is a really cool document, The Swamp. Everyone, don't be afraid of that designation, The Swamp. Oh, really what that means is the money in politics. Left or right. Watch it, don't be afraid of it. Someone like Vivek wants to say, dude who's running for president, that the swamp is, the federal bureaucracy and get rid of it. No, maybe it's because you're not thinking constitutionally and you just want to get rid of it. You know what I mean? I can chew out his yellow all day. But anyway, so the swamp is, don't be afraid of that terminology. Check it out. You'll start to see why we have a 30% efficacy. Jennifer Lawrence, she's a chairwoman, I believe, for Represent Us. I think that's really cool that she's using her celebrity to be involved the way that she is. I think that's really cool. So go, this is sourced from Represent Us. There's a couple of videos that explain that as soon as a politician gets into office, they spend 70% of their time tap dancing around with that ideologue, whatever it might be, and then also getting money. Maybe not someone like Don Lubber, not anymore, but again, he's not using all that. We'll get to that with so much time here. So we'll say it's longer than, it's a little. Okay. So then, yeah, it makes sense. As soon as you get in office, you gotta watch The Swamp, the documentary, watch this like a 10-minute video. It's also on YouTube. On 70% of their time is spent raising money. And it makes sense. A guy like me who's not in the structures, trying to come to honestly, not like the rest of them are talking and stuff. And we're genuinely here. You see my website, the ideas are pretty solid. Unless you can tell me otherwise. If you can sit there rationally, we can talk about it. So anyways, yeah, and that's why only 30%, that's whatever it is. That's Joe Biden, that's Donald Trump, that's Don Beyer, that's Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, AOC. It's all put together, and we've got serious problems. Climate change. And I'm just sitting here empathy about it. I have ideas. I'm getting my confidence from my ideas. Okay? Not because I'm so handsome. So here we have modern political science tools for weeding out corruption. If you want to say corruption is the money, they're not doing what we elected them to do, and just what have you. Again, comes down to the media bias. They will use that. Politicians, the media itself can get corrupt, so we can rate that, hold them accountable. GovTrack, political records, see where people stand in their voting record. Tracking money in politics with open secrets, and then capital trade, stock trading. So we want to talk about 30% efficacy and all that stuff. You know what I mean? You come on in. Hey. How you doing? Is that locked? Is this locked? This is a town hall I'm right for Congress. That's okay, yeah. You can see, you want to have donut? You take a donut. You don't have to stay. You can just have coffee or donut or whatever. So, I didn't know that door was locked though. Anyways, so, where was I? So if you want to, that's what we define as corruption in political science. You know what I mean? That's, to keep it simple. All right, let's get into real quick my opponent. Don Beyer increased his net worth as soon as becoming our representative from $52 million to 28 million. That's coming up to being triple. I guess I'm Batman or something because I'm not supposed to believe in coincidences. Right? What is that about, Don? You know what I mean? Look at, he's the fifth richest, by the numbers, $124 million. Okay? And with a 30% efficacy. I'm not done yet. This is just getting started here, Don. This is a screenshot from Capital Trades. You can see how much he's traded. There's more here. And you'd have to healthcare, anything, he's capitalizing off of legislation that only has a 30% efficacy. All right, and then what else you got for me, Don? This is again the source of Axios. Have a good one. House of Representatives with the most financial trades. Don Byers, number 2. From 2020 to 2022. Now he supported the Abigail Spanberger was working on that too. It was an extension of what Obama had done in his tenure of the disclosing, but now it's actually getting it out and putting them in an account that you can't touch with your family also. So still, it should be noted that Elizabeth Warren had campaigned on an anti-American Corruption Act. I read it. It's not the same as what Represent Us has. The minutia is broken down. It's just too much. It was overreach. She overreached the general welfare. Elizabeth Warren used to be Republican, so it would have been nice to see more of a balance there. Didn't see it. And maybe if Elizabeth Warren had campaigned on, that's basically what I've done in my life. I've taken the good ideas and then just, if there was one, like a Bernie, if there's like a CO salary cap, what's reasonable, you know what I mean? But not, how are we going to pay for free universal health care and education without it hindering progress? You know what I mean? We need asteroid money for that kind of thing. Unless you have another idea. Just don't say what to pay for. People don't want their taxes going up and then we want to remain competitive. So again, go after the ideas, not the person. Unfortunately, that person comes with a lot of ideas, and that's just how people think. But if they're able to meet in the middle, and that's what we're all about here. This is CNBC putting Don here on a pedestal about going back to school. He has the time to go back to school to get his master's degree. I did a little digging. It's at night. It's one class a semester. Okay. How much time does that take? I've asked his office. I have the records. I've asked him. Just, you know, and I don't underestimate my opponents, and I do my homework. Right? Even on Byers' website, it's like Don's actually looking for an Exodus, who has a master's degree in artificial intelligence, said there's no shortage of smart lawmakers on AI, including Byers. So why put him up on a pedestal like that? Good for him, right? But if he's going to have a 30% efficacy, even if he gets his degree, and there's other lawmakers, why even put him up there? Promote him, Don Byers. What about Stephen Lamb? Anyways, so moving on here. Don Byers, this was just, what was it, Don, a couple months ago, where you were you were asked to speak about AI, right there. For the Messenger, it's a YouTube video. You can check it all out. He said that. That's a closed caption right there. Now, I can't tell you how much time this gobbles. Why not, Don? You already have a 30% efficacy. You have all this money. You can't tell us? Seriously? I will tell you. If I'm doing something in my professional life that's going to benefit you, if there's something going on in my personal life, I'll see what it would be. You know, if I have a medical condition, then I'll let you know, hey, I got to be out of the office for it. I'm only for one term, right? So, let's see here. I have no problems. It is how much love there would be to be an honor to be elected and then serve one term and then have to put it away. I'm sure maybe that's not something George Washington, I think he might have been happy. He was sad and happy. I've seen the way Obama looked, after a second. But I would have to own up to that principle. And then if I lie, then just don't vote for him. It's a big deal. So he's got to retire sometime. Again, pushing us to democratic socialism. You know, he's a centrist Democrat. That might work in a place like Arlington, but those ideas don't work nationwide. We have money like that because of the federal government, the taxes, the business, everything. You know, Amazon, Raytheon, Nestle, Deloitte, Patent Office, the Pentagon. We've got money like that around here, and that's fine, okay? But that's not what we want. Balance here. We need someone who reasonably understands these things, who's going to call things out and then work with them and be just like any other office environment. You know, all of you have a boss or a boss or boss. You guys stand there and look at people. We're not children, okay? All right. Anyways, so read this on turnout and how I saw establishment Democrat ideology is painfully corrupt and at odds with progressive voter aspirations. Behind the scenes stuff, 30% efficacy, Don. And I'm not trying to demonize no party here. I'm just saying, money in politics. Read the article. turnout rates fine on the media buy strike. The founder, I have no money invested in the media buy strike. The founder, we've communicated just little, things like thanks, Stephen, you know what I mean, on LinkedIn, but I've never talked to her on the phone. I actually think she would make a really good White House press secretary, but maybe one day. Let's see here. So there you see right here. This is from GovTrack. You can see we're Don Beyer, right? Two center left. We want to. You don't have to be here. This is fascinating, actually, how this balances out. Kind of makes sense. I mean, this isn't how legislation that's been passed. It just shows you where voter records have standed, for these elected officials. So, but you see, it is going more left. That's fine. But right now, we need something right around here, something genuine. All the people that are saying that don't have the platform that I have. They don't have the constitutional thinking that I have. I know I'm a little raw on social media. That's social media. Aren't lots of things raw on who doesn't like a good action movie or something like that? Come on. Who's afraid of a little bit of blood when it comes to a Rocky movie? It's somewhat, social media is somewhat fiction. Very much. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I'm not the same person when I took that photo. I don't work there. Whatever it is. You know what I mean? Anyways, moving on. This one is probably one of my favorite ones. Don he doesn't acknowledge this stuff. He just shoots himself right in the foot. He's got this on his Twitter right now. He's boasting about the raft of excellent economic indicators showing strong, sustained growth at the end of 2023. And he's all saying, it's basically saying because of Democratic policies. Not really. No, not really. It's from consumer spending. If you've done the research, that's what that's from. I voted Democratic, but you don't see me be like, oh, it's because I voted Democratic. No, it's because we kept spending. There's nothing really particularly, even 30%. And you say that. I say this to him. None of these numbers reflect political resolve, even if buried somewhere from merely 30% per your only chosen feature post on Facebook. He will repost other people saying, oh, Democratic policies are superior. In some ways, sure, but as far as the economy, the better numbers, no. and I tell him maybe he should get help for political fever, and you'll see why. I got to get to that. Come on, it's ego deflation. I got to get to people. People have done that to me, but these days, if you're going to come and if you're going to try and do that, then you better know what you're doing. Okay. Anyways, so I tell Beyer to get off his high horse. Why give them an excuse? Because there's another post here where he had got, look, this is the most failing congressional, the 118th Congress is the worst it's ever been. He's a part of it. He's been there the whole time. His numbers keep going. His personal numbers are fine. His economic numbers are fine. Totally fine. Always have been. Especially since he got into office, right? So he's saying the House GOP majority made Congress far left, less effective by empowering the extreme right, refusing to solve problems. This is why they can't. Blah, 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 as one Republican put it. Name one meaningful, well, it's time for reform, right? But also the left, don't give them a reason. Let's not impose socialist ideas. And then with that 30% efficacy, with the money, and then the unconstitutionality, mixing up religion and politics, get over it. Okay? All right. This is why I say this to Don Beyer. Potomac fever, right? I've always wanted to get into politics. He enjoys it. I heard through the grapevine that Don wanted to retire. I wasn't born yesterday. I'm not a nobody around here. Come on, Don. I talk to people. I hear things. So this is what you enjoy that? I don't enjoy, I get a little allergies. I get some allergies in the springtime. Maybe they've evolved since I'm older. Now I get them somewhat in the fall time, but seriously, Don, retire, please. Please. I'm going to keep coming at this. I'm going to keep coming at you. Until you special debate, please. All right, let's move on quick. We're taking too much time here. All right, this is just boom. Don Beyer, that's what he does, just repost the same handful of things to make you think he's working. Again, trying to use the fallacy of social media, that 2D crystallized environment. Yeah, I'm working, no, you're not. I've inundated him. I'm not going to hide. Yeah, I said this, I said that, and I meant it. I know I'm the better representative. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here so confident about myself here. I don't care. I'm going to keep coming. All right, as the pieces lay scattered together. Well, I like this. You know, you think, some people might think, oh, he doesn't support things to the left. He must be the complete opposite. No, come on. As the pieces lay scattered now that the election denial and defamation paradigm is losing in the media courts, it's time to build something new, more perfectly, which I've assembled. Now that when we fall apart, we can build back up. That's just human nature. Don Beyer would advocate selling for things to stay the same, which nobody wants. He doesn't want to let go. He's like Joe Biden, you know what I mean? Just pass it on. Be more like Mitt Romney. I don't agree with everything about Mitt, but you know, at least he's just very humble. Okay? Time for a new generational president. In so many words, that's what he said. Okay. In Virginia, independent candidates are not presently permitted to participate in the primary. Therefore, I hereby challenge Congressman Beyer again and again to a special debate, the same kind of way that Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom. I'm going to keep coming like this, and if I don't make it, hey, I still would feel like I would win. Okay? Yeah, I don't even care how many people, you know, these little ticks. I don't care. I've got other things that I can fall back on, but I would much rather do this because of what it means. Feels good. So, Republican opponent, this guy, I'm asking him here to elaborate his interpretation of the separation of church and state, why that's so important, especially how politicians should not take religious narratives. You know, he's just, you can read that, you know what I mean? I'm trying to push it forward here. Again, I challenge him. I'll challenge both of them. I will stand here between both of them. I don't care. What questions you got? Let's go. We get world's on fire. Okay? Let's see. I don't know how much peace selfies would ideologically resolve. That's what he's doing. He has this religious narrative. Oh, but it's peace. You're upsetting people a lot, and it hurts what you're doing. And you just have the tenacity to make it okay with. He wants to impose his MAGA ideologue. I mean, if you go to his website, it clearly looks like he's a nursing teacher. Like he's the MAGA type that, I didn't go through it too much, but it looks like he recognizes COVID as an illness, as a disease. You know, is he like Robert Kennedy saying that there are other ways to mitigate that without a patent or something? I don't know. So, you better, be nice to get some acknowledgement. I don't care. I'm not better than anybody. I'm just as equal. You know what I mean? I'm going to go in there and respond to you. As congressman, probably won't have the time. Besides, I have the digital democracy project. I would be so empowered that I was elected that I would need to show a certain psyche about where I stand. And if you want to call it strength, if you want to call it that, call it whatever you want. It's still mostly fictional. So, opponent recap. Don Beyer, 30% efficacy, centrist socialist, increased net worth to $124 million since being congressman, questionable stock trading, attends night classes for master's degree to include any additional studies, points blame at Republicans as they point back at his further left agenda. You're failing us, Don. He put in 8 articles of legislation, which are useful, but not incredible. Okay? This guy, apparent credibility of healthcare and education, but highly questionable among MAGA, America First ideology. It doesn't clash. Everything I know about MAGA, we say as far as healthcare and education goes, doesn't seem constitutional to me. Go look at his Twitter. He's not on Facebook, but unconstitutional rhetoric of religious narratives and divisive bias. I find it rather disgusting. While that Don Beyer oversells the general welfare, accurate Congress basically ignores it, and that goes to that they're not living up to a balanced thing, and I am that balance, I know it. I hereby challenge both of them. I'm standing here. You think you have better ideas than me? No one's coming at me with my ideas. I mentioned something about prenatal volition. I mean, that's a medical, woman's choice under medical. So it's a minimum. It's not a law. It's a proposal. It's a scientific paper. the way it rests down is where the states have to decide. But if we could push something through, the right is going to want to draw a line where you define life. I've seen what they post. I've seen what Martin Luther King thinks. Where life begins is plants are alive. You know, eggs, sperm, they're alive. They're not conscious. They can't think. But you know, so I don't see the reasonable other place to draw the line to legally define life. But that doesn't mean that you can't abort either. So that's up to a woman and doctor. But you're going to have to put it right in them. I mean, we do that with sexual consent as 18. Is a person developed enough to do? I mean, I don't want to get up too real about that, but you know what I mean. Like you got to draw a line somewhere. Okay. So that's exactly the same with sexual consent, but you know, all analogies break down. So that's it. Conclusion. We're going over here. Part of many cusping, I believe. This is my hypothesis, just from some of the data that I've gathered even in my presidential campaign on social media. 18 to 28-year-olds may not fully understand the platform at first, not at first. I didn't go to school for political science. I went, my later 20s, I was going to actually get a computer science degree. I'm not BSing you. So, but I took another opportunity to get involved in that development. That's another story. So, I didn't know much about politics. I knew information. There were some things I'd read about. Whoa, that doesn't make sense. That seems contradictory, right? So, 18 and 20-year-olds may not fully understand the platform, at least not at first. Give me a chance to talk to them about it. Weigh it out to them. I'm kind of looking at this thing like a seminar, right? 28 to 48-year-olds, I believe they mostly understand the platform. There's some bias there, not just about your age. The median age is 36. You think that you can tell by the way I move, the way I talk, and sound, or whatever. I don't know. There might be some bias there, but I think, you know, the human brain works in its most efficient in their 40s. You know what I mean? That's just, we just have enough experience. Our prefrontal cortex is fully developed by our mid-20s, and now we have experience with it, you know? So 48 to 68-year-olds, they're just, I get it. You're finally, you're in the fourth quarter of your life, maybe even overtime. You just want things as easy and smooth as possible. You don't want any unnecessary anxiety or take any risks. You've done that. You made it this far. I get that. But even I had a grandmother, right? Even I have a grandmother. So mostly comfortable with the status quo, at least at first, right? Give me a chance to talk to you. You know, I mean, maybe like some of the things, you know, that you would see on social media, you're just like, whoa, like you just wouldn't get it because you just have another generation. But if you look at it, just what my generation, I wore, you know, geez, I went as a murderer for Halloween, you know, Freddy Krueger, you know, for as a kid. I saw that stuff, so maybe I'm a little bit desensitized for that in a fictional setting. Anyways, so follow me, okay? All right? I mean, no big deal, no big whoop. I'll be 43 this year. If you want to come at me, if I have the time these days, if you want to come at me all personal, I have no problems making a fun show about that and call me too sensitive or whatever. I just say I have some extra time on my hands. Okay, so if you want to have ideas, if you want to rationally discuss these things, then social media is a very difficult way to do that. I might even do conference calls. I don't know, see how this thing evolves. Hopefully get some feedback from attendants here. I'm going to go ahead and close this down and see if there